Hello, my friends. I'm Rick, and you're not. And you know what? We're going to take a little short jaunt down the freaking rabbit hole because sometimes, just sometimes, you have to go, what? All right. You know, it's possible. It's quite possible that perhaps one of the top five intelligence services in the world is Mossad, and Mossad's actually the most well-known component of a larger entity. So the Israeli Defense Force, the Israeli Intelligence Service, has several branches within it. Mossad being just one that's the most openly known as the spy guys and crap like that. The whole point, though, is that for 70 odd years, the Israelis have put a lot of resources, a lot of time, a lot of talented individuals into the very essence of keeping an eye on their foes and sometimes their friends to protect themselves and their interests, which is generally what intelligence services are supposed to do. They fill two roles. One is to keep our people informed, to keep the people in charge of things informed of things they ought to know about, and perhaps warn them of things that may be coming that they need to be made aware of. And then the other part is actively pursuing things that are of interest to the entity we're referring to. So in this case, the CIA is supposed to pursue agendas around the globe, not at home, not on American soil, but anywhere else in the world. That's what the CIA's position is supposed to be, and they're supposed to run the gamut of keeping an eye on our foes and trying to preempt them from doing stupid stuff, and to do our own versions of chicanery and bullshit, because it all kind of goes the cloak and dagger thing all goes hand in hand, right? That's just the nature of the beast. So when we talk about Mossad is considered the elite of the elite. So the idea that the intelligence service Mossad and their rest of the branches of the larger entity that Mossad is a member of, absolutely failed to notice this buildup in the Gaza Strip by Hamas, that Hamas was awfully quiet for quite a while and were obviously plotting and planning something, and that all their security systems, it's just like the idea that their security wall, that the Great Wall of Gaza that was supposed to protect the Israelis from the very crap that Hamas pulled a week back, failed, in part because it was dependent on people sitting somewhere monitoring everything and keeping an eye on stuff. So my question is, really? I find it extremely hard to believe that the various entities charged with protecting the Israeli citizens from the very crap Hamas pulled were so asleep at the wheel that all these different agencies and different departments, nobody noticed Jack at all. This isn't like Hamas had just decided to flip a switch and make a run on a whim. They'd been plotting this for some time, some time. It would not be unreasonable to say a couple of years at least to get all this hardware and material in position and in place and smuggled in. I mean, we know that Gaza generally, it doesn't have an active port. That in part is because the Palestinians have never tried to build one there, and B, because the Israelis have never encouraged them to build one there. Because the Israelis really don't want a yet another inlet that they would, for stuff to flow into Israel by way of Gaza that they don't directly control. So they're not going to promote that sort of thing. So that just leaves the border crossings with the Egyptian border. Now, it's not to say that the Egyptian government is in cahoots with Hamas, but they're more than likely to look the other way and choose to ignore stuff. But even at a certain point, they felt responsible enough, or at least they didn't want somebody coming back and pointing fingers at them after the fact, So they made an effort to tell Netanyahu that Yahoo or Bibi, whatever the hell your Yahoo in this name is supposed to be pronounced. Look, dude, man, my last name was a brutal bastard too. It took me 2 years to learn how to frickin' spell it. My dad's screaming at me on a regular basis, trying to beat it into my head like a good little Marine that I was never going to be. Anyhow, the fact that this one of the most uber security states in the world gets caught flat-footed by this insanity, let alone the scope of it. No, but I'm beginning to believe, when there's a lot of people speculating that I don't think Hamas even realized just how successful they were till after the fact. They had planned so many different things, expecting most of them to not do well or to fail. And so when they almost all achieved their goals, wildly, it would seem, the fact was their people went on a tear because they were so successful they didn't know how to react. They literally were the coyote in the henhouse. Why? How? You got to know that after this is all done and said, there's going to be a lot of hard questions by a lot of upset people in Israel, wanting to know why all their sacrifices for security and safety was for nothing. What the fuck happened, and how did they get to that point? And so I guess I'm trying to avoid that idea of a freaking total damn conspiracy shit. But the truth of the matter is, this is what Hamas is for. This is what the Israeli intelligence service is to keep an eye on people, to spy on people, to keep an eye on their flows. And who are more, Hezbollah? And so Lebanon, Hezbollah, frickin' the Gaza Strip, the West Bank, Palestinians in general, Hamas for sure. Allow top 5 priorities right out the gate as far as I'm concerned. Right there immediately at home, they need to keep keeping ties on these people. So they utterly failed, completely utterly failed. Or were they told to look the other way? Were they directed by a handful of individuals in positions of power to do so, to redirect those resources to other projects, either through complacency or hubris, arrogance, that we've got the Palestinians so far under our boots that we don't have to worry about any of this crap? Or is this by design? Netanyahu is well established a person who absolutely hates the Palestinians. Hamas is just an excuse, a vehicle for him to find a way to further dilute the Palestinian problem, to somehow eliminate a problem that's been a major thorn in Israel's safety and security since its establishment. I blame that on the United Nations. I blame that on Israel in part too. I also blame that on Britain at the time. At the time, when they all decided that this is where Israel's going to have a country, they should have hammered out a section specifically for the Palestinians and declared it that, their country. Perhaps if we'd have done some things different from the beginning, and don't get me started on that rabbit hole with fucking America, because I mean, Jesus, how different would America be? Would the world be today? How freaking vastly different would things been today if our forefathers who founded this country actually held true to the very premise that they put down in writing, that all men were created equal. What if we just started out at the very beginning, at the end of the Revolutionary War, as a free country of free men, regardless of color and creed? Oh, sure, there would have been problems. There's always fucking problems because humans are assholes. We are assholes to each other, and that's the facts. Thousands and thousands of years of so-called civilization has never erased that component of the human psyche. We're seeing it live right now in Israel and in Gaza. A never-ending perpetual cycle of violence and hatred. Like I said in previous videos, I have no sympathy, no empathy whatsoever for Hamas. And I have sympathy and I have some empathy for the Palestinian people. But I understand the situation that both they have put themselves in, that they allow themselves to be in. They allow Hamas to operate in their region. Hamas truly only operates with the greater graces of the larger population as a whole. Because if the larger population as a whole decided they absolutely wanted nothing to do with the Hamas fuck asses, Hamas would not exist in any kind of significant power. The people would have put them down. The people would point them out, rat them out to the forces who would put them down. And perhaps, just perhaps, Palestine, this is what you need to do. Clean your own fucking house. Get the nasties out of your damn closet. Because they have not done you no favors in 70 damn years. These theologically driven maniacs have done far more damage to your country and your would-be country and your possible liberties than anything that they've done to help you. And that's the God's truth, for God's sake. Open your goddamn eyes. It's the same problem I'm surrounded with in America, with people that are going around with their blinders on so bad that they're oblivious to the crap that they say from pure ignorance. It's just, oh my God, how do we function? How does society function? How does that society function over there? How's it going to get better for them? They're going to keep burying people. They're going to keep killing, murdering each other. They're going to keep retaliating. Once again, I have to ask, how did this vaunted security system, these layered after multiple layers designed to keep track of and to monitor and to control the Palestinians and Hamas, utterly failed? All the ducks took off at the same time. That's a very rare event. It's not impossible. History is full of those. Holy shit, we actually got far luckier than we thought we would. Unfortunately, they don't have the means to follow up on it. At the end of the day, it's kind of a developing into an agreed consensus of the rest of the world that Hamas's main goal here might have been to stir up some shit like they always did, and at the end of the day, their greatest hope is to somehow incite the neighboring Arab countries to rise up and crush Israel. Have that final jihad against Israel and death to all Jews. This is why America has to stand solid with the Israelis. Should we condone a lot of the Israelis' behavior towards the Palestinians in this situation? Fuck no. They need to be held accountable for it too. Netanyahu and his people, they played more than their fair share. This is why it's not so hard for me to go and question and wonder, is this a setup? Was this intentionally set up to figure this was the best chance we got? Let's open the door. We got to go mow the grass. They have terms for it, my friends. The Israeli government has freaking terms and philosophy behind it. This is quite a real possible scenario that this could very well been set up to fucking been on purpose. So, the intelligence services, one of probably the top 5 intelligence services in the world, capabilities, resources wise. When you look at per capita, per population, we got a couple 100,000 people. We got 20, 30,000 agents or something like that working for the CIA alone. Mossad's got 3,000, and probably half those are administrative people and support roles and stuff. They don't all in the field, but anyway. But when you look at level for level, that'd be the equivalent of having 200,000 or 300,000 agents for their population size. So I'm not kidding when I talk about the amount of resources and effort and time and experience that belong in this agency and their associated agencies as well. So the fact is, Mossad is very, very equal to the CIA in most ways, maybe evenly matched one-on-one, and anybody else in the world. So these people actually had no clue that Hamas was plotting something that big. Had they let their contacts and their insider whatevers and their people they had some grease, or some leverage over, all that slide and diminish to the point where there's no warning whatsoever from the rank and file in Hamas that something's in the planning stage, Something's in the works? Nothing? So nothing in the agencies in foreign countries such as in Iran and in frickin' Egypt. And you know damn frickin' well Mossad and the intelligence the Israelis have people just like everybody else did. Nobody knew shit, right? No, neither did America apparently. Now, perhaps it's not really our reason for have. Why would the CIA devote assets to keeping an eye on the situation in Gaza when we can depend on the Israelis for doing it? Because the Israelis are like top notch. Why would we not depend on the Israelis to keep track of their own mess and their own shithole? You know, Palestinian outdoor prison gulag that nobody wants to talk about. Their own version of a fucking camp. Hello, Israel. You don't like to hear that? But that's what y'all doing to those Palestinians. That's a different. That's a different problem from the Hamas problem. That's where everything wants to get complicated. Oh, they're intertwined. No, it's not. Hamas are murdering sack of crazy fucks, and they need to die. That's the only thing that's going to respond. It's the only answer you can give them. And unfortunately for the Palestinian people, it's anywhere near the Hamas. They're going to take the brunt of it too. And we're going to apologize after the fact. Because that's the realities of the world. That's uber conservatism in my book. So, you don't like it, fuck off. Go find somebody else's damn channel to make fun of. Whatever. So, hello? At the end of the day, I have this problem with this. And this is just like, so we have this massive wall. Oh, I love walls. If you watch enough of my videos, just go look. I bitch about them constantly, and lampoon them a lot too, because reality is they don't do shit. They do some things, but they don't prove. They're not 100%. Nothing's 100%, and they just give you this illusion of security that then it comes around and fucks you over and kills thousands of your people because you fell for it. So at the end of the day, this big ass vaunted security system with all their sensors and monitors and cameras, watchtowers, all this crap, nobody noticed shit. Nobody saw nothing until it was literally right on them. So yes, the Hamas used some UAVs to some freaking remotely pilot some little toys to basically run explosives up to the sensor towers and blast the fuck out of them. The minute them sensor towers started to flick off, they should have been sounding alarms right then, shouldn't they have? Shouldn't the very act that the tower itself suddenly gets cut off, should it not have had an automatic alarm system to start waking people up back at the monitoring stations going, hey, we got a problem? We don't hear none of that. I suspect, yes, that sort of stuff went on, and then they were in utter chaos and confusion because they didn't know what the hell was going on. And so many times you got too many little punky little raids and little punky little actions by these people, Hamas and stuff. So they just, how do we know? They didn't realize the entire scope of it till after the fact, and for good reason. It's how this shit works. Some plans most plans don't survive meeting the enemy. But every now and then, one plan literally mows down the enemy because the enemy didn't read the same damn playbook that most people did. There's a reason why most generals and most commanding officers worldwide, regardless of what country they come from, worth their salt, have read Sun Tzu's Art of War and a handful of others that are really crucial books. I've read a number of them for curiosity reasons and for professional understanding of crap. It is what it is. That said, yeah, was it really such a big goddamn surprise? Was it? You tell me. You tell me what you think.